My name is John Mizuno. I serve as the Vice Speaker at the House. And besides me, I have some stellar lawmakers here that are going to make a difference. We're going to try to make a difference in reducing homelessness. As all of you know here, homelessness we are the #1 state per capita for homelessness. And we've been talking a good game, but as of late, it doesn't seem that we've made a substantial impact in reducing homelessness. So these lawmakers before me are going to be the key. They're going to do their best to bring this home, but it needs to be a collaboration, not just with the legislature, but with the executive branch, that's the governor, and also with our nonprofits. So there's a couple bills of interest. There's probably well over 10 bills, but a couple bills that really percolate to the top. And I'm going to get the lawmakers to talk about them. I've got to my right Representative Tom Brower, House Housing Chair, and also to his right, Senator Willis Sparrow, Housing Chair for the Senate. To my left is Senator Green. He's the Human Services Chair. They're going to collaborate and work together. Hopefully, we're going to try to get some common ground and pass some good bills that will substantially and significantly reduce homelessness. I've also got Norm Baker. He's the COO from Aloha United Way. I'm going to have Norm kick it off and give you a little bit of background information, and then we're going to turn it over to these lawmakers that will be making a difference this year, we hope. We know. So, Mr. Baker, you're on.
Thank you, Representative Mizuno, Representative Howard, Senator Sparrow, Senator Green. Thank you very much for having us here this morning. Thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us. Let me start by saying we really acknowledge the work of the Department of Human Services and the Governor in allocating some dollars to us earlier this year to create a program that became known as the Coordinated Statewide Homeless Initiative. That program delivered about $5 million into the community to assist folks that were at risk of becoming homeless and were already homeless. By any measure, the program was a huge success. Thus far, as I stand here today, about 4,300 individuals have been either kept in their homes, placed in homes. The program it was funded through the emergency funding and the emergency decree by the governor. That funding is obviously not going to be continued, but we believe that the need for this type of service in our community is critical. One of the things that we learned in implementing the program over the last, 9 months now, is that for every homeless person that we placed, there were 3 folks, 3 families in the eviction process. In other words, for every one that we did good, there were 3 more that are going to demand the same services in just a second. As our program director says, there's no sense bailing the canoe unless you patch the holes. And so we believe that this preventative program of reaching out to those that are about to be evicted, keeping them in their homes, is absolutely critical. So we have asked our legislators to consider this bill, and we are hopeful that working together we can continue to make a huge dent in our community's homeless problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Thank you. Next up, members, we've got Representative Tom Brower, again, the Housing Chair for the House. Representative Brower.
Okay, thanks. Just very briefly, I'm very excited to be the Housing Chair for the next 2 years. And I'm making an effort to hear as many bills from our House members as possible. And we see all different solutions regarding the issue of homelessness. As Norm mentioned, we want to support this program and keep people from becoming homeless. At the same time, though, the feedback I get from my community, Waikiki, Ala Moana, as well as residents in Kaka'ako and downtown, is they need policing efforts. So we need law enforcement to enforce the laws, and then we need the state to provide alternative housing, whether it's next step shelters or housing first. And those will be what I will be focusing on this year. And at some point, we are going to also have to look at the amount of funding that it should take for a long-term process. We have bills for $2 billion in long-term funding for permanent housing for people who may be struggling. And then we have the governor's package, which is requiring in the neighborhood of $20 million, for this fiscal budget. I think that at some point the community is going to start to ask, what is the return on investment for money being spent? So those are just a few of the things that I'm thinking of and looking forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Next up, we've got the Chair of Housing for the Senate, Representative Will Sparrow. Senator Will Sparrow.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Now, Senate Bill 1107 and HB 1240 are measures which we need to pass because it's about compassion and being able to help those who are struggling and who are certainly in need. And if we can provide some funding in order to keep people from being in the streets or having to live in our parks, that is something that government needs to do. Now, obviously, providing financial assistance to people in need is not going to solve our problem of homelessness and housing. We also need to fund social services, those that have mental health issues, people with drug addiction, and at the end of the day, we need to build affordable housing, in particular affordable rentals. This is going to be a long-term process, easily 5 to 10 years in order to meet the demand of 10,000 units, 22,000 units, or even statewide 60,000 units. But certainly we need to take some initial steps that will have an immediate impact, and this measure to provide financial assistance will do that. And I am hoping that with my colleagues around me, we will be able to provide the funding in order to take care of our homeless and housing problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. And finally, we've got Senator Josh Green. He also is a medical doctor, Chair of Human Services. I had the pleasure of working with him when he was on the House as his Vice Chairman. I know he's going to do a great job. So, Senator Green, you're on, my friend. Thanks.
So I want to expand the conversation even further. I agree with absolutely everything my colleagues have already said. We have to do this. We have to fund this program because otherwise we will slip backwards. The Aloha United Way was able to keep thousands of people from becoming homeless. Take it a next step. We have about 200,000 of our citizens that are just 2 or 3 paychecks from being in economic crisis and potentially losing their homes themselves. This is a statewide problem that has to be dealt with, not just seriously, but very, very seriously. We already are having great challenges taking care of the problem when it's between 8,000 and 12,000 individuals who are homeless, or 2,000 individuals who are chronically homeless and really, really suffering. We can't see this problem get worse. That's why these bills, sponsored, I believe, by Representative Brower and Senator Sparrow, signed by many of us, must pass. We need to support Aloha United Way or whomever we're going to deliver this program. This is the kind of thing that will help prevent homelessness from getting worse while we deal with the problems that we have today. We're going to need to take on some additional ideas. You've heard several of them. Right now, I also want to point out that 1 out of every $7 that we spend in the state of Hawaii is on Medicaid. And this is critical. This funding is critical. It's for people who are destitute, people who need health care coverage. Those very same individuals are often homeless. Over time, I think we're going to find that we should use some of those resources to help with this problem. Is a better investment of our money. For every $1 we spend on Medicaid for housing, for homelessness, we will save $2. We're going to be innovative. We have to solve this problem, as it was said, in the next 5 to 10 years. We're going to start crunching it with these bills. So thank you for supporting it. Please reach out to us with your best ideas. We don't want to see this crisis get worse. We want to see it get better in the coming months and years.
At this time, we'll be taking questions from the media. And just to throw some solid statistics at you, I'll be very succinct. If one of these 2 bills pass, we're looking at housing approximately 2,200 families, or keeping them in housing with subsidies and other forms of creative methods. This amounts to 7,400 people that would be homeless without this. Now, it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. It's not free, of course. It would be for $3.5 million per year. We're looking at a 2-year pilot project on this. Now, if we can do this and show the benchmarks of the success, I'm sure we're going to have a governor. The administration and the other lawmakers will substantially support innovative laws like this, and that's why we're going to ask you for your help to get the word out and educate the people of Hawaii for these 2 important initiatives. Just to name a few. Again, you'll probably see well over 20 bills, but these 2 bills seem to percolate to the top. We need this. They make sense. And as Norm Baker had mentioned, it does work. So at this time, I'm going to take a step back. If you had any questions, feel free to ask Mr. Baker, and the lawmakers.
You guys explain? Go ahead.